inside the ICU, pallid, unresponsive, and barely aware. He slumped unexpectedly. According to witnesses, there was only turmoil, terror, and frantic cries for assistance, no heartbeat, no movement. And Mama D's response upon her arrival rocked the facility as a whole. While medical professionals struggled to save her kid from the brink, she shoved past nurses and yelled for answers. However, the amazement didn't end there, since Bambi appeared a few minutes later. Additionally, the conflict between her then Mama D exploded in the waiting area. The two ladies who have loved Scrappy the most almost ran into each other as monitors screamed from inside his intensive care unit. An unadulterated, agonizing conflict. And then the unimaginable. The alarm went off, flatlined Scrappy. Physicians rushed in. Mama D passed out. Bambi sobbed. Social media was inundated with prayers from fans. And this is all we currently know. Scrappy is barely alive. Lil Scrappy had to travel a long and hard path to reach this breaking point before the flashing lights, the frantic 911 calls, the yelling in the hospital halls, and the life-or-death struggle within the intensive care unit, a journey fraught with years of tragedy, grief, stress, and emotional wounds that the public never actually witnessed. Scrappy has consistently been the tough one, the resilient one, the warrior who made it through the music industry, the streets, broken relationships, legal disputes, financial difficulties, and the stress of being a public person whose whole life was broadcast on national television. Fans didn't see the evenings when Scrappy was psychologically and physically spent or silently facing demons, even if they witnessed the laughs, turmoil, and turn-up moments on Love and Hip Hop. They were blind to the damage that childhood trauma caused him. Growing raised in a state of survival, being forced into manhood before he really understood what it meant, and being reared by Mama D's intense yet tumultuous love, they were blind to how years of unhealthy partnerships, divorces, his tranquility was gradually eroded by custody disputes and reconciliations. They were unaware of the strain of attempting to co-parent in the harsh, glaring glare of reality TV, where every error becomes a meme. Every disagreement turns into a popular issue, and every vulnerable moment becomes a source of amusement for millions. And his roller was in the center of it all. Connection with Bambi is a roller coaster. Fierce love one moment, violent disagreements the next, separation, and then efforts to make things right for the children. Their romance has never been straightforward. It has always been noisy and intense. Bambi has wept for him, battled beside him, stood up for him, left him, returned to him, and attempted to create a tranquil life together, only for unresolved trauma and old scars to tear them apart once again. However, Mama D has always stood up for Scrappy, overly protective at times, dramatic, messy, and fiercely devoted at all times. Her love is loud, erratic, and often overwhelming, yet it stems from fear. Fear of losing her kid in the same manner that she has lost so many others to life, the streets, and poor decisions. Scrappy also found it difficult to handle such pressure. Being pulled between a wife who wanted him to be independent and a mother who would never let go, Scrappy continued to struggle to maintain his composure in order to be a parent, a provider, a company owner, and a performer. Fans were unaware of the full extent of the tension he was enduring, even as it silently accumulated behind closed doors. He never entirely recovered from the physical disabilities he had in an accident years ago. Money came with fame, but it also brought expectations, anxieties, and adversaries. He has openly struggled with depression, acknowledging that even in social situations, he felt alone. He has fought fatigue, always touring and shooting to maintain a steady existence. He has struggled with heartbreak from himself, his relationships, and his mother. And lately, the situation started to worsen once more. Scrappy was having a public argument with friends, going through difficult times on social media, and giving clues that something wasn't right. Behind the scenes, he was feeling overburdened by family strife, co-parenting disputes, financial strains, and physical health problems that were becoming more difficult to overlook. According to those close to him, he has been working non-stop, getting little sleep, and attempting to manage everything at once. He reportedly complained of feeling weak, lightheaded, and unlike himself, because that's what Scrappy does. He dismissed it. He endures agony until his body compels him to give up. Unfortunately, that's precisely what took place. His breakdown was not unexpected. It resulted from years of carrying too much, repressing too much, and engaging in too many conflicts, fights by themselves. It wasn't until the night they discovered him unconscious that his family realized how deep the fissures were. Mama D broke down at the hospital door because of this. She was afraid of losing her son, but she was aware that he had been enduring pain in quiet for a considerable amount of time. Bambi hurried and trembling because of this. Not only do they have children together, but love endures even after a marriage dissolves. She is more familiar with Scrappy's emotions than most, and she was more affected than she had anticipated by witnessing him struggle for his life. Guilt is carried by both women. They both have regrets. Both have made statements they wish they could retract. But none of it was important at that hospital. The drama subsided. Every disagreement was resolved. The only thing left was terror, unadulterated terror, with the knowledge that, long before his body ultimately stopped down, Scrappy had been operating on empty. The world is now discovering that behind every storyline, every star, and every strong facade may be broken by a human being. As soon as Scrappy stepped into that ICU bed, the true mayhem started. And like a thread that no one knew had been tugged too far, the truth about the last several weeks began to fall apart. Because although supporters believed Scrappy was getting better, sharing encouraging photos and grinning despite his suffering, despite claiming to be nice, the truth was far darker and more perilous than anybody outside his small group ever realized. Those that were near him had been anxious for days. Scrappy was sleeping poorly, eating seldom, constantly worrying about personal matters, and silently managing respiratory troubles and discomfort in the chest. He continued to ignore it. He informed his buddies that he had persevered, informed his children that everything was well, and assured Mama D that he was fine. However, behind the scenes, the weight of everything striking him at once was causing him to collapse both physically and emotionally. He refused to slow down in the face of relationship strain, family disputes, financial strain, public drama, and health problems. And the night of his fall, when Scrappy was allegedly in the midst of a dispute with a loved one, a debate so intense and emotionally taxing that acquaintances claim he abruptly stopped talking, gripped his chest, and collapsed. This is where things get tricky though. The individuals in the room cannot agree on what transpired. Some claim that Scrappy passed out. Some claim that before he ever touched the ground, his breathing ceased. According to one source, he had been complaining from numbness and dizziness all day, but had declined to visit the hospital. Another said that he had just ended a tearful phone conversation about co-parenting issues, and after that, there are rumors that Scrappy ignored obvious medical warning signals in favor of overstretching himself while managing enterprises, filming material, and juggling motherhood and public image. In any event, the room was immediately filled with terror. In an attempt to rouse him, people were yelling his name and shaking him. As soon as he didn't react, someone dialed 911, and while the operator attempted to do CPR on everyone, you could sense the fear in their voice. Scrappy was unconscious when paramedics got there. No movement, no pulse, no response. The EMTs treated him on the floor of the living room before hurrying. He was carried out on a stretcher. He had tubes already inserted and oxygen masks fastened to his face. At this point, the tale takes a drastic turn due to the first significant twist. Scrappy wasn't by himself when he got to the hospital. Mama D and Bambi both received alerts in a matter of minutes, but not from one another. Insider sources claim that Bambi, not Mama D, was contacted first, and something broke in Mama D when she learned that Bambi was aware of Scrappy's medical problem before she was. Hatred was not the source of the friction. Fear, protectiveness, and Mama D's perception that she was being driven out of the problem of her own son. Thus, all that worry erupted into accusations as she rushed into the hospital and ran directly into Bambi. "You were where? How come you received the call before me? Why did you not inform me of was the infant dying?" The waiting area exploded. The members of Scrappy's family were yelling. The nurses were stepping in. Since security knew who they were already keeping an eye on them from the corners, handling, shaking, and sobbing. Bambi vowed she wasn't attempting to conceal anything. It wasn't until someone on Scrappy's team contacted her to inform her that he had collapsed that she received the call. She claimed to have hurried over right away, hoping he wasn't lost. Mama D, however, was not listening for anything. She was taken by surprise, deceived, excluded, and the dispute nearly descended into violence for a brief moment. Scrappy, meantime, was coding in the intensive care unit, his heart pounding, the flat spikes on the electrocardiogram. The two most significant people in his life were at odds with one another while doctors battled to save him. This is when the twist becomes more complex. That was just a few hours before Scrappy passed out, according to someone close to him. Stress affecting both sides of his family had caused Scrappy to have a major panic attack. Unresolved drama involving Bambi, conflict with Mama D, difficulties from co-parenting, and pressure to continue working, performing, and being tenacious for everyone. They claimed that he was afraid to stop because he thought that if he slowed down, everything would crumble. He allegedly said to a companion, "Everything stops if I stop." Everyone is now haunted by those words. I got to keep going. The most startling information of all was then revealed. The one Mama D purportedly disclosed in a private discussion that was subsequently made public. For weeks, Scrappy had disregarded the doctor's orders. She claims that he was instructed to refrain from overdoing it, to prevent stress, to avoid staying up late, and to return for more testing. He never scheduled the tests. She said that until his body made him confront reality, he believed he was strong enough to overcome anything. The twists continue while Scrappy lies comatose, connected to breathing tubes, equipment, and monitors. Physicians claim that there was more than one problem that led to collapse. Numerous factors contributed to it, including fatigue, stress, dehydration, heart strain, and even an underlying medical problem. Nobody was aware that he had. Doctors are unable to make any promises at this time due to the complexity of the case. The duration of his oxygen deprivation is unknown to them. They have no idea how his heart will react. They are unsure if he will stabilize completely or crash once more. They are unsure if the damage has already been done or if he is strong enough to heal. Additionally, Mama D and Bambi are left staring at the same reality as the world applauds and shares Scrappy was drowning, not just exhausted, and it wasn't seen until it was nearly too late. Scrappy's health remained extremely unstable, and as the night continued into the early morning, the atmosphere within the hospital became heavier, darker, and almost oppressive. And with each minute that went by, the individuals who were meant to be supporting him started to reveal more alarming facts, more secrets, and more anxiety. With taut expressions and clipped voices, nurses continued to enter and exit the intensive care unit, refusing to respond to inquiries and instead stating, "We're doing everything we can." It only served to increase the level of anxiety in the waiting area. Like a lioness, Mama D paced back and forth. Bambi sat still in a chair, palms pressed to her face, still trembling from the image of Scrappy flatlining earlier, murmuring prayers between angry obscenities, ready to rip the world apart to defend her baby. Then the next unexpected turn of events occurred. Using a clipboard, a hospital social worker entered the waiting room and inquired. The whole audience froze. "Which one of you is legally authorized to make medical decisions for Daryl Richardson?" Mom D moved forward right away. "Me, I'm his mom." However, Bambi steadied herself and stood as well. "My eyes are still puffy from weeping." "We're legally married," she muttered. "He still has me as his wife." In an instant, the room exploded. Mama D erupted, yelling that Bambi didn't deserve to make any decisions because she had deserted her son. Bambi retorted that she still loved Scrappy and had every right to defend him in a shaky but powerful voice. The social worker realized she had just thrown a bomb that may blow the whole thing apart. So she swiftly stepped aside as nurses and security came in to halt the yelling. Another shock came while they were arguing. The rest of the family was unaware of what Scrappy's sister disclosed. Months ago, Scrappy signed an emergency contact form, but neither Mama D nor Bambi were identified as the primary contact. It was Erica Dixon, the mother of his daughter. All of a sudden, phones began ringing. People were screaming, and Mama D almost passed out. Once more, instead of mourning, this time there was shock. How could Scrappy place Erica Dixon in that situation and keep it a secret? Why didn't he make the necessary updates? Why did he not have faith in his spouse? Why did he not have faith in his own mother? At that point, the second significant turn of events occurred. After being silent all night, Erica Dixon unexpectedly appeared at the hospital. Additionally, as she entered, the waiting area fell quiet. She hurried to the front desk with her hands shaking, her eyes red from sobbing, a sweatshirt on, and no makeup. Desperate for a response. Bambi tensed up. Mama D scowled. Erica didn't even glance at them as the entire room prepared for an explosion.